What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's up with y'all? Every single one of y'all out there in here. What's going on? I am Coming to Comey, and this is Coming to Comey World. People, thank you so much for coming through. I got my boy Jew Jams with me. Yo, so we went out to the sports bar to watch game 3. We wanted to see it. We wanted to feel it with the people out there. Our own watch party at a nice sports bar here out down here in the Atlanta metro area. And we watched the game. What's going on with you, Jew Jams? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm missing something now. I don't know what's going on.
What's going on? What you missing?
Thought I had it set up here. Hold up. Give me 1 second.
Take your time. Take your time. Take your time. Yeah. So we went out to a pretty nice sports bar. It's called Twin Peaks. It's up there in the Kennesaw area. Pretty good drinks, pretty good food. You know what I mean? And just basically we were able to chill with my brother and watch this game. You know, we had high hopes, of course, but the game didn't end up going as we hoped it would, but it was still a good contest. We saw some things that we liked, we saw some things we didn't like, but unfortunately the Spurs ended up beating the New York Knicks 115 to 111. We're going to go into the box score a little bit and a little bit of the statistics that kind of tells the story of the game. But what did you think, Drew Jams, about the game?
Yo, first and foremost, big ups to all the folks that came out to come watch the game with us. You know, big ups to Ronco, big ups to DJ Shot Cam. You know, they were in the house. The place was packed. A lot of old school cats. You know, we up here on North Georgia side of town. So, you know, we had a good time. You know, I can only imagine what the environment was there in MSG. They said that the stadium was rocking. It definitely sounded really loud. And here we go. Let's go. Game 3.
Game 3. Definitely the atmosphere looked like it was, even though they canceled the watch party outside of MSG, which is basically like right outside the actual building, outside the arena. They usually have a spot basically designated for the watch party, or watching on the Jumbotron outside. But because due to the fact that the current presidential administration decided to come through to the building. I like the background. That's the Mecca right there. That's the Mecca.
The Mecca, baby.
Decided to come through to the game. It really kind of put a damper on the spirits of the the fan base due to the fact that they weren't able to be there. I hope that it didn't affect the actual players too much, but I'm sure that it also was weighing on their minds. It was a distraction that was really, really unnecessary.
I don't know if it really affected the players, but it definitely affected the mojo of the whole environment of the arena. Because like Nakomi said, you know, this is the Mecca of basketball. And the reason why they call it the Mecca of basketball, because, you know, before there was all these European players and all of this, people all came to New York to play basketball against every different type of basketball player there was. Because if you go to any part of the country, there's West Coast basketball, there was Southern basketball, there was Northern basketball, there was Midwest basketball. Mm-hmm. And everybody came to New York to go against all the different players. Mm-hmm. You know, and if you could win there, you could win anywhere. Like my man, you know, P. Diddy said, you know, and that whole mojo was just this, you know, just disrupted, if you would, or slowed down, because they had to put a whole fence. They had to put a whole temporary. Go on Twitter, go on Twitch, or TikTok, and you will see they had to put a whole temporary fence around the whole garden. A temporary fence around damn near 70% of the garden, just because of who was in attendance. But that also goes to speak to the star power of what this game was about, because you had Robert Kraft on the floor.
I mean, it was like your boy Shaquem was saying, there's $1 trillion in the building right there. Basically,
Brilliant.
it was Bloomberg was on. Bloomberg got ran into.
I don't even think I ever seen, you know, Kraft at a game.
At a basketball game in New York, of all places. You know what I'm saying? There was Bloomberg out there. There was Kraft. I could have swore I saw it. It was the old Chicago mayor. I forgot his name. Rahm Emanuel, I think his name is. Basically, I saw everybody. I saw it was Chris Rock was out there. Of course, Tracy Morgan and Spike was out there. Spike was out there wearing the jersey with the. He had the personalized jersey on with Pope Leo on the background. Fly. Yeah. So
it was star-studded.
It was star-studded. It was definitely star-studded. So I could imagine it shouldn't have. And I mean, like Drew Jam said, basically, that shouldn't have affected them. But at the same time, it was a distraction that was unnecessary. But just to piggyback a little bit off of you talking about New York being the Mecca, I will say that it's the Mecca. Not only because you have the very famous arena of Madison Square Garden that has hosted so many events over the years, between some unfortunate events around the late 1930s, but also great basketball, great concerts, great hockey. I mean, great events over the years. But it's the Mecca of basketball because I mean, I'm sure every single state has basically, basketball teams for their high school and, junior high school, like that. But it's different from, like, say, in the South, where football is king and you have lots of open spaces. In New York City, it's all about basketball. It's concrete. You don't have a lot of parks. You don't have a lot of green spaces. You got a lot of concrete, and you got a lot of hoops, and you got a lot of kids, and all the kids play basketball. That's the one thing about why New York is the Mecca, is because everybody in New York knows basketball. Even if you didn't play basketball, you still watched basketball. Your kids played basketball. Right. Your cousins played basketball. We grew up across the street from a basketball from a park. A basketball park with 4 basketball rims in that park. And basically, if you were looking for a kid, you look across the street, the kid's probably out there playing basketball. Facts. Plain and simple. So you play basketball. So everybody, girls, boys, everybody play basketball. You have 30 million people living in about like a 10 square block, a 10 mile square block, basically. And high schools, middle schools, colleges, they all playing basketball. So we all know basketball, and that's why you can't tell us what good basketball looks like and what bad basketball looks like. We know right off the bat. We already know what it's
supposed to look like.
Some of the most educated basketball fans in the whole entire world. So that's why I personally feel like they call New York, and we have earned it to be called the Mecca of basketball. Not only because, and also to give shout outs to the Harlem Globetrotters, basically the world known, the world renowned Harlem Globetrotters. So, you have the championship finally coming back to be played, the finals in Madison Square Garden, and so you have all these stars that have been. I mean, so these players have been played in front of these same stars, all years long, basically. So it shouldn't have been, it shouldn't have gotten to them. I don't think that they were flustered or it got to them, but I do think that the Spurs changed up their approach to the game, changed up their what's the word? Basically, the Spurs decided to do something different with this game.
They changed their whole strategy.
They changed the strategy. Exactly.
And the truth is, I would have been disappointed if they didn't.
Absolutely.
They got the Hall of Famer Greg Popovich as the advisor to the young fella, Mitch Johnson. And I'm not saying Mitch Johnson ain't a good coach, because he's a good coach, because good coaches know to listen to their advisors and listen to their surroundings, and they made the adjustment. And actually, going into the playoffs, a lot of people said, off the top, Wemby's going to hold Josh Hart, and that way he can stay in the back and play free safety, in which he did right out the gate. I think it was kind of a zone. It looked like kind of a zone that they was trying to run on us, a little 2-3 zone. and would put Wemby in the back, and he was able to be effective not only offensively but defensively.
Exactly.
And right off the cuff, we look very out of sorts, because we started out, and I think you said that, Nakomi, that there was a lot of one-on-one basketball going on. Brunson has, in this new style of Mike Brown basketball, going through Cat, the ball moved so very well. Right out the gate, the ball never sits still. It would only go to those 8, 9, 10 dribbles of Jalen Brunson when the game was on the line. They started out the game like that.
Exactly. They start very, very early in the game. It started off with I don't know if it was because they were trying to get Brunson going, trying to get him, trying not to get him, get him cold, trying to get him in a rhythm early. But that Brunson's not that kind of player that he needs to get in a rhythm. I feel like Brunson basically is that kind of player that could come off the bench and hit a big shot. So, but I think the problem is that they got out of rhythm with the rest of the team being involved. I felt like the ball stuck too long with players, especially even bench players, that was just dribbling the ball out instead of getting ball movement going. When the Knicks were able to be effective out there, it was when they got their ball movement going and they actually were able to move the ball around the court and keep the Spurs guessing. Actually, when they actually started really, really doing it well, you can even see it in the passes. The energy behind the passes were a lot more crisp. It wasn't lazy It wasn't lazy passes. It wasn't these passes that basically were just begging to be snatched out of the air and taken back the other way for a point. The thing, I think the biggest issue, though, I think was the Spurs finally heard the message that all of these commentators have been preaching for the past. I don't want to even say 2 games, because they've been saying it since the Thunder game, that if Wemby, if he basically scores over a certain amount of points, which is I think 26 points, his the Spurs probability of winning goes up exponentially. But also the fact that Wemby is a 7'5" person who decides that he wants to play as though he is a small forward or a shooting guard, but he is wasting the Spurs effort and energy if he's not getting down in the paint. And so early and often they went to Wemby in the paint. They finally were able to start getting him some lobs around the basket, and unfortunately the Knicks were fronting him on defense rather than staying behind him on defense, and he was able to just get behind them and just basically go over the defender and put the ball back in, or put the ball in. So they went to that early. They got a quick lead in the game. They didn't relinquish that lead until the third quarter. Was it that the Knicks was able to come back? Sorry, no, it was the second quarter. The Knicks were able to take the lead into halftime.
Right, and they actually went into half up.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is one of the things that was a huge takeaway for me. The NBA is all about matchups, and I'm a full believer now. I'm signed, sealed, and delivered that the NBA is a game of matchups. And being able to, the team that exploits the matchups the best are the teams that's going to come out successful. And we knew one of our biggest matchups was Karl Anthony Towns over Wemby. But we wasn't able to exploit that because they dropped back into that zone or whatever it was, where Wemby just went straight into the paint. And I wish they did the defensive 3 seconds thing again, but I don't know what happened to that. That's been gone. They actually called the 3 second this game on Karl Anthony Towns, offensive 3 seconds.
Right.
But we was never able to exploit that matchup.
No, never able to exploit that matchup. I think they did go to the zone. I think that's basically why Josh Hart was able to be open, and thank goodness he actually hit some of those threes, basically. But they realized that they can't, that no one person could basically guard Towns by himself. That's basically what I felt like. They realized that, and so they basically they just gang. They I don't want to say they trapped Carl when he got the ball, but pretty much it looked like, and it was at least two people on Carl every time that he got the ball.
It was by
And
committee.
they didn't.
It was
by committee. They didn't want to basically let Carl have his way. That obviously showed up in the box score. So they didn't let Carl. Go ahead.
And speaking of Josh Hart, Josh Hart when Josh Hart went 6 for 10, 4 for 7 from the three. He had 16 points. He did his thing, and he almost had a double-double with 9 rebounds. So and 5 assists. So he really, he started out a little slow, but then he really came on and did what he was supposed to do. And everybody pretty much did what they were supposed to do. Jada Brunson had 32, Anunoby had 28, but the missing link, which is the matchup that held the San Antonio's at bay, was Towns. Towns only had 11 points. Only shot 10 shots. Remember, we was talking about it. He only shot one shot in the first quarter.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, and by the end of the game, where I really felt like we started to get, or the Knicks started to get really stale, was when they went away from their ball movement. The ball started to, and not only with Brunson, and another thing that really hurt us was they got Brunson into foul trouble really early. So he had to sit out a good amount of time, and that basically gave a lot more minutes to I mean, not only Alvarado, but Alvarado was definitely he's usually very effective out there. But Jordan Clarkson, although he did get some points off the bench, he had 10 points, 4 of 7 from the field, 2 for 2 from the three. And only 2 turnovers. But at the same time, I felt like there was some real unforced errors that Jordan Clarkson made out there that probably wouldn't have happened if it was Brunson out there. You know what I mean? I'm not putting it all on Jordan Clarkson, but at the same time, due to the fact that they got Brunson in foul trouble early, it really hurt us. I will also say that it's just the fact that they made Brunson defend. They decided to actually really go at Brunson, and Brunson, being an undersized guard, when he decided to use his physicality to defend, the refs was definitely on it. I felt like the refs, they did an even, mostly even job at officiating, but at the same time, I feel like it still was a lot more went in favor of the Spurs. Some ticky tack fouls. Some, honestly, I would have probably did no calls that they basically called and gave the Spurs extra opportunities.
Hey, before you go any further, I just want to piggyback on that the Clarkson thing is, a lot of what Knicks do, and that's why I remember, in the first half, I was like, yeah, the Knicks are down, but the Knicks are getting in rhythm. Right. And the rhythm of the game is what helps us to be successful. And I felt a lot of what Clarkson was doing was completely out of the rhythm of what we're normally doing. He was forcing a lot. He was dribbling in, coming back out, knowing you can't score on Wembley.
Right.
Clarkson is catch and shoot the open three or drive in and hit the floater. And Clarkson was doing a little bit more than what he was supposed to be normally comfortably doing. Exactly. And that also, through a lot of the stuff, the shots that we was taking was out of the rhythm. But Clarkson for sure, because he played 13 minutes. He had 2 turnovers, 3 rebounds. He went 4 for 7, 2 for 2 from 3, which is virtually a good game, right? But
virtually a good game.
We normally play.
You know what? One of those threes was a rainbow that he just basically threw up.
One of them was a star. Yeah, he just chucked that.
He just threw that one up and it went in. But at the same time, like you said, it was he's a guard. but not every single all point guards aren't made the same. All point
Yeah.
guards aren't don't, they're not the same. They're not the same value. He's more of a shooting guard, more of a scoring guard. He's a change of pace guard. He's he's basically a second, a back the bench guard. He's a bench guard. You know what I mean? Not more out. If you wanted to go with the more with the game plan, Alvarado basically is more of the game plan type of basketball guard. But they were forced into that issue due to the fact that Brunson got those 2 fouls really early in the first to second quarter, basically. So they had to go to the bench a lot sooner as far as their guards. Shamit came through and basically
Came in probably the first 3 minutes of the game.
Exactly, because Brunson basically caught those names. He only ended up with 3 points, but I'm not gonna completely take it away from the Spurs. Spurs did a good job defending. They were very, very rough. They were very, very rough. They realized that they had to get gritty with it to be able to pull out the game, and the refs let them get gritty. I was waiting for the Knicks to respond, but at the same time, they called a lot more on the Knicks than they did on they called a lot more on the Knicks, to me personally, than they did on the Spurs. And it allowed the Spurs to continue to keep momentum. And every single time the Knicks would get close, the Spurs would find a way to get an open 3 or to get Wemby in the paint. Behind enemy lines and behind the defense, basically.
Big up to Castle. He had 23 points, 8 for 14, 2 for 5 from 3, but he really was taking it straight at the Knicks. He did not mess around.
No, Castle was definitely. Go ahead.
No, Castle definitely did what he was supposed to do, which was take the attention off of Wemby and make sure they had to defend more than one person.
Absolutely. Him and basically, I mean, hey, Dylan Harper, he was a wrecking ball out there. Also, he did his thing. 13 points off the bench. He was only 1 of 8 from the 3, but in the paint, he was, put your hard hat on. He was coming through and he was slamming it home. He hit some
rebounds.
Hit some good. What's the name? I'm telling you now, he was out there doing whatever he could, to get the job done. He had more rebounds than Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama had 8 rebounds, but 6 assists from Victor Wembanyama, 32 points. He was 11 of 18 from the field and shot 2 of 4 from the 3. So Wemby, he shot some jumpers, but most of that damage was done in the paint. And I hope that the Knicks are able to make some adjustments to realize, okay, if that's the kind of basketball that they're going to decide to play now they're deciding to basically play Wemby in the hole. We got to basically get defensive in the hole. And, it just, I feel like they weren't completely ready to make that adjustment mid-game because they weren't able to. They were able to regain the lead at a time, but they weren't able to shut Wemby down when he was ready to get down in their paint. And I feel like they didn't take advantage of the times when Wemby was off the floor. Those was that 9 minutes that Wemby basically wasn't on the floor. I was hoping that, okay, they had that when Cornette was out there, that they would take advantage. They weren't able to drop those shots when they basically had it, when Wemby wasn't on the floor. So, they took their chance, they took their shots, but the shots weren't falling for them to be able to take advantage of the time when Wemby wasn't out there. And also, I felt like they didn't go to. I felt like, even though paint points were pretty much even, I feel like they weren't as aggressive the Knicks weren't as aggressive going into the paint as they were before. Oh, don't get me wrong, OG Anunoby definitely did his thing, taking it to people at the rim, but at the same time, like we said, Towns was only had 11 points. He wasn't able to really do any damage inside, but at the same time, hey, they're a very talented young team. They should have won a game. We were hoping to sweep, but they showed up and did what they had to do, and they basically stole one at Madison Square Garden. So real quick, team stats. Basically, like I said, it was pretty much an evenly matched game. It was 46-45 from the field. 30 both had teams shot 35% from the three. The Knicks only shot three more threes, but they both hit basically 35%. Hitting 12 and 13 respectively. The Knicks actually got a few more free throws than they did. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. The Spurs had 10 more free throws than the Knicks had. They shot 32 free throws and they made 25. The Knicks only shot 22 free throws. They made 18. The Knicks actually out rebounded the Spurs. We got a lot of second chances. We just didn't hit those shots. The Knicks had a lot of second chances. They just didn't hit them. Offensive rebounds. We got more offensive rebounds than they did. And so we just weren't able to take advantage. But this right here is the real disparity to me. 28 assists for the Spurs and 18. Usually that's usually a little bit more balanced, if not the other way around. I felt like they played a lot more. The Knicks played a lot more, too much ISO ball, personally to me. Instead of just keeping the game plan of ball movement. That's just my personal opinion. They were pretty much the same on blocks. The Spurs had a few more steals. It was okay. Turnovers. The Knicks had 13 more. What's that? 5 more turnovers than the Spurs did. They just didn't exactly take care of the ball the way that they should have taken care of the ball. Fast break points. The Knicks actually had 15 fast break points to 5 points in the paint. The Knicks actually, matched up 44 to 43. To 46. But at the same time, they could have done more. They just didn't have it. I don't know what you want to call it. They started off a little cold. And the Spurs basically came out hot. The Spurs had a job. They came out. They decided to do it. And they set the tone by going into Wemby early and often. So basically, that's how it all turned out. Oh yeah, and they did call a flagrant and a technical foul on the Knicks. It was nasty out there, man. It was nasty. It was just like it really felt like I'm not saying that they chose one over the other, but I definitely do feel like the whistle was in favor of the Spurs tonight. Maybe you could say the league was trying to basically extend the series a little bit longer, but I believe that the Knicks will respond and come back out and not go out like that not go out like that in the Garden and not at least pull one out.
Yeah, facts, man. One of the biggest takeaways for me is the turnovers. We watched some very, 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 very silly, at least 5 of the turnovers that the Knicks had early in the game, like in the first minute or so. The Knicks was throwing the ball away. They was not in sync. They was not on point. They was not crisp, not very crisp at all. Second quarter, the turnover started to continue, but in the second quarter, it did not look like Knicks basketball. It didn't. There was no ball movement going on. A lot of the shots were desperation shot, like we talked about with Clarkson. Anunoby hit a big one in the corner. That was a desperation 3.
That was a bit.
Clock was winding down. It was like 2 seconds left on the shot clock. He squared up and he knocked it down. Thankfully, he made it. A lot of them was like, "Thank you, Jesus."
Yeah, exactly.
Another one was like in the mode of Knicks basketball and ball movement, things that we have seen and grown to love over these playoffs. And that goes to show that defensive adjustments can really hamper what you're trying to accomplish out there. And they definitely hampered us.
Exactly. And this goes to right now it goes back on the onus is now back on the coaching to make those adjustments that need to be made so that basically the Knicks can be ready to play when they come back in on Wednesday. Yeah, like you said, throwing the ball away. They threw the ball away twice in like the first 5 minutes of the game. And that's what I knew it was. I was just like something. I'm just like, come on, y'all need to focus. Like it felt like the focus wasn't there like it was before. Like they had a mission, to basically go in and take a game, and and move on to the next one. Basically, I didn't really feel. I don't know what's going on. My screen just basically
The
went black.
final box score does not tell the tale because at the end of the half, the Knicks were shooting dang near 25%.
Yeah.
They were shooting 25%, and they was not getting any of the normal shots that they normally take. That's why you
Absolutely.
seen Brunson dribbling the air out the ball. That's why you seen Cat passing the ball off, deferring from taking shots. As I said, he only took one shot in the first quarter, and then he had to go out for whatever reason it was. But the Spurs played their game, and we did not play ours.
Exactly. That's when it all comes down to. That's point blank period. That's what happens. Let me see one other thing. I feel like one big issue that is it's hampering our team. The team is I mean, no one really expects for Hart. Hart had to score those 16 points because they basically they D'd up on everybody else, and they just basically dared Hart to score, and Hart actually knocked down some threes that he was left with. But Mikal Bridges, I need you to step in, bro, because they wouldn't be able to gang up on Karl Anthony Towns if you was also a problem out there. Because if they basically put a great defender on Anunoby, and they put because it didn't feel like Wemby was actually it was a zone. Wemby wasn't basically up like D'ing up on no specific person. So they would anybody on the outside perimeter, they would trap you. They basically would run you off the 3-point line, move you in, and then basically clog up the paint, so you're not getting anything in the paint. You got to pass it back out, and they running back out to you to run you off the 3-point line again. But Bridges, he only took 5 shots. I need you to do more than that. I need you to do more than that.
Well,
You took
he
5
was
shots,
not
you
in
made
a
one.
position to do more. I don't think he was in a position to do more. I think he was given the ball a lot of times. The ball, like we said, the ball movement was bad.
It was
A
bad.
lot of times they was handing the ball off to the person that was right next to them because they just kept dribbling to a stop, jumping into their pivot, trying to find
their dribble.
And normally they would be able to, before they even came to the stop, they knew exactly where the ball needed to go. And so Bridges was catching the ball in bad situations. He took his 5 shots, but he did the most he could do. He had he finished with 4 fouls. He didn't foul out, but he had 2 fouls early, which put him on the bench, which gave Clarkson a lot of them a lot more time than they should.
That was another reason why basically we had to go deeper into the bench, because basically Bridges was also in foul trouble. So they basically got Bridges and Brunson in foul trouble early. Basically they were forcing them to not saying that they weren't forcing them before to defend, but they were basically going at them, and I'm not saying targeting them specifically, but they were trying to basically be aggressive with them on the offensive end to make them make a decision if they're going to foul, and the refs basically obliged them and gave them fouls. So Bridges had to go out, and that basically why Clarkson had to take more minutes.
And this is what a lot of people got to realize, right? This is not a Brunson has to score 30 points a game team.
No, it's not.
He did not have to do that. They've been most successful when everybody got involved early, when everybody is rolling, and the ball is moving really fluently, and then Brunson does what he does in the fourth quarter. That's what this team is. He had 32, but he shot the whole game, trying to figure out a way to penetrate this defense. And the Spurs really put it on them as far as giving them different looks, difficult looks,
difficult looks.
We can never really get into our rhythm.
Exactly.
So just because Brunson does not have to score a lot of points for this type of team to be successful. He just has to do what he does in rhythm and let the game come to him. But he really was forcing the issue, trying to find a way, trying to keep the minute. And regardless of all the bad stuff that happened, the Knicks only lost by 4.
Exactly. No, it was within 5 minutes. It was very close. It was they were only down by 4 points. They were really, really close. They actually closed it down to a 2-point lead earlier in the fourth quarter, basically. And it's just the fact that circumstances has got away from them, and they missed shots, and the Spurs made shots. That's what this came down to at the end, basically. So final score.
That shot by Fox at the end was massive. I didn't think he had it in him.
I didn't think he had it in him because he ain't showed that he had it in him for a minute, basically. So they put a battery in his back, and they're gonna have to basically really defend when the Knicks are able to turn up their defense and take care of the ball and move the ball around to try to find the open man and knock down our shots when we get those shots. The Knicks are a different team, and that team didn't show up today. I feel like we showed up in spurts, but didn't show up for the entire game. To be able to capitalize on the lead that we have in the series, they're going to definitely need to do that, make the adjustments, and be able to figure out what they're going to do with Wemby in the middle. As far as because even when Mitch Robinson did what he could out there. But he only had 7 minutes out on the court. Because I don't think he wasn't effective exactly, but at the same time, Wemby was still out there basically getting his way. And whether he was out there or not, Castle was knocking down shots, and what's his name? Harper was knocking down shots. They were all basically out there really, really doing what they got to do. So, hey, like I said, game 15 final was 115 to 111. Next game is going to be on Wednesday. We're going to definitely cover it in the post game right here on Coming to Comey World. Please go ahead, like, comment, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Any last comments, Julian?
Hey, the Orange Man won't be there on Thursday, so we should be back to the regular mojo. Hope they're going to flood the streets of Manhattan, surround the stadium, and
carry our team to victory.
To the Knicks, baby.
Carry the team to the victory, man. So everyone out there, please take care of yourselves, take care of one another. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please go ahead and hit that notification bell so you know when I go live, or watch out for the thumbnail whenever it pops up, y'all. Take care of yourselves, take care of one another. Do your civic duty out there, vote. There's a lot of special elections going on, and I hope that you watch out for yourself. May you always find water and shade. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.